What's up, guys? How you guys doing? Welcome to another Leveled Up Traders Payout interview. Today, I have my good friend here, Allan. Allan from Atlanta. And today, he's gonna share his story in trading, his experience with Leveled Up Traders, as well as any type of gems or tip tricks, anything that he has under his sleeves, in order to help you guys to become even better traders. Um, Funny enough, while we were waiting for the video to set up, I was taking my notes, and then I refreshed my system, and it showed that we had sent out uh, one last payout recently, which was like, you say you received it you requested it yesterday and you just updated it today, but you just received a payout of $1,762, correct?
Yes, yeah, I just got another one. So right before the meeting started, we got another alert that we got another payout. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and kind of perfect that it lands on the weekend, so you can.
Yeah. So I can go pay my rent for Monday.
Hey, listen, it's the 31st. We all gotta do it, but I'm not. I don't want to spoil much of how much. I mean, they're gonna see it on the title. They're gonna see how much you already got it paid out. But before we get to all that, I want to ask you, and first and foremost, thank you for taking your time and and sharing your experience with the rest of the world. And to get started, like, how did you get started in trading? How'd you come across in trading?
So it was kind of an interesting story. Back in '08, well, really '07, '08, when the stock market crash happened. So I was in college and I graduated college, and I was looking for like my first job. And as you know, during that market crash, no one was hiring. Like, it was kind of interesting. It's like you finally become an adult. Everyone tells you go get a college education, get a job, and it's like as soon as I'm ready to do it, it's like the world's crashing down. And when that happened, I mean, eventually I did find a job. But the most important thing is that I noticed every time that I turned on the news, I just kept hearing the word the Dow Jones, the S&P, and I'm like, what the hell is this? So over time, it started piquing my interest. Every day you see flashing on the screen, numbers going up and down, up and down. And from there, it really, really started to pique my interest. So I started looking into the markets, started trying to figure out, how does that tie into economics, which is what I was studying in school as well. So both of those things started tying together and kind of merged that world into one. And then as I wanted to start trading, unfortunately, I wasn't able to because the U.S. has this pattern day trading rule, where you have to have at least 25K to continuously be a day trader. Outside of that, you're essentially able to invest. And being 18 years old at the time, I graduated early, so I was 19. I didn't have 25,000. So it sounded like a dream that I couldn't necessarily achieve. So I kind of put it on the back burner because I knew eventually, build the capital and then you'll be able to do it. It's just not the time right now, but I could use this time to kind of learn. And then my ex-girlfriend at the time, I wound up staying with her and her family as I was like moving from one apartment to another, waiting for the second one to get ready. I stayed there for about 2.5 weeks. And they lived in this huge mansion. I'm from New York originally. I recently moved to Atlanta. But they lived in this huge mansion upstate New York. Every single car you could think of, very similar to like a Raul lifestyle. And her dad was a day trader. And I was like, what the hell? So it was like, then it started, the light bulb started flashing. I'm like, okay, this is already interesting to me from something that captured my eye. But then I started to see what it could actually amount to if you kind of grind and do your thing. I mean, he's been trading probably 40 years or so. He's an older gentleman. So those two things is kind of what got me interested in it. And then I put it on the back burner for some years. Up until 2019, a friend of mine, he got me into one of the multi-marketing trading company programs. And I hate MLM. Yeah, it was, I forget the name, Allan. And I always hate those multi-marketing things, so I stayed away from it. But I think it was a way that what piqued my interest is that on the CFD side, you didn't need to have that huge capital to be able to trade. So I told myself, I'm like, well, okay, if I actually just pay for the program that they claim to teach you how to trade, then I can learn how to trade, but I don't have to do the marketing side. That should just be something additional. And then I realized in the 2 months that they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know how to trade. So, but what it did do is that it exposed me to all of like the actual traders in the market, like the Raols, the Q banks, and so on and so forth. So, what I will say is that experience, it brought me into a space that brought me to where true trading is happening. And then I was able to purchase some courses. I purchased a Q's course, Raoul's course. I mean, you can name all the people's course. I probably spent thousands of dollars on courses. And so that's kind of really what started me there. And then we could probably go on from there.
No, no, that's great. I mean, I feel like if you see it kind of like throughout your life, you kind of be getting hints. Hey, you gonna end up doing this one way or another.
Yeah.
Let's say you're from New York. I mean, you've seen The Big Short.
Of course.
It's in like every single movie that talks about like any type of trading or like high. It's in New York. You said you study economics for college.
Yeah.
Okay, and like then like your ex's father, you know, like I guess it just all comes to a circle. And something very important that you mentioned about that, in the old type of marketing, in order for you to trade, you needed to have initial capital of $25,000.
Yeah.
And knowing that back then at 18, 19 years, they didn't have the option. Well, now it's not recently, but it's been around for many years. I'm pretty sure that was one of the main factors that drew you into prop trading. The fact that you could, one, you know, trade with larger capital for and two, without, you know, you don't, let's say you were lucky enough that at the age of 20, 19, you got 25K, you're not going to go risk the whole 25K on a trading account. So it also alleviates a lot of the risk. So having that in mind, like, how'd you come up in prop trading? What was your experiences with prop trading?
So I actually started that whole process with IM Academy, like kind of rebirthing my trading journey back in 2019. So this is like pre-COVID. I want to say actually next month makes 6 years. So it was June of 2019. Started learning. I probably started live trading, I would say October that year. So right before 2020. And then somewhere, if I'm not mistaken, either late 2019 or early 2020. In fact, Raul, at the time he was trading, or he introduced a lot of people in the industry to FTMO. So, I mean, they really have to thank him, because I think that he was the person that kind of made the prop industry more well known. They were around for years, but I don't think so many people knew about them. But at that time, kind of jumped on it because I was using my own capital. And believe it or not, I think I started with like $3,000, and I was pretty break even forever. I'd actually never really lost money with my own capital. And then I eventually grew it during COVID into like 15K or something. I actually just found the logins to that account back then. But then around that time, I found prop trading, and I started taking challenges from there. So it took me probably a year to pass my first challenge. You know, when you're green, I was very, very risky at first. So really tight with how I did my risk. And I wasn't passing the challenges, but I wasn't blowing them either. And then eventually I got to that point around actually the week that Biden got elected is when I passed my first challenge. I blew it in a day, but it was a huge lesson from that point on, because yes, now it taught me that I didn't have to put my money at risk, but the downside is that when you are trading funded capital, or when you are going through the challenges, by having certain rules in place, it makes it harder. So I think, and this is what I teach a lot of the people that I work with in trading, is that if your ultimate goal is to trade a prop firm, then you ultimately need to demo with a regular demo account, but treat it as if it is a prop firm, because prop firms using that capital does add a layer of stress that you don't have with your own money. Yes, if you take your own money, you blow it, you're broke. So that's one level of stress. But the other side is, so many people are so nervous when it comes to trading, and because it's like a test that you have to pass. And if you don't pass it, then maybe you're a trash trader or something like that. It doesn't necessarily mean that, but it's just something that adds another layer of stress. So I always tell people, if you are going to demo, just demo same way you would do a prop firm. 90% of the prop firms have a 5% daily drawdown, 10% overall drawdown. Treat it the same way. You can't open a 50 lot on gold on a demo account knowing you can only open a 5 lot or a 10 lot on a prop account. Treat it the exact same way. You get that muscle memory, and then when you are ready, Now you're just taking the challenge to prove your skills instead of worrying about the layer of the markets doing whatever it's doing and the stress of trading the problem. So, yeah, so that's kind of how I got started. And for years, I wasn't able to achieve a payout. So I got funded a few times with that particular prop firm. And then I made money. And like back then, you had to, wait 30 days for a payout.
Yeah.
And so that time was rough because, prop firms, sometimes they know what they're doing. It's like you can build up capital for this certain amount of time, but it's so hard to get to that point to get to the payout date that a lot of people probably wind up blowing it beforehand.
Yeah,
People.
And once you get it, they tell you wait 30 days, so you keep the money in the bank and you can play with it. It's just gonna take it.
Really, what happened? It was like I remember one time I made like 20K on an account, but I had to wait 30 days, and probably a week or two later I blew it. So it was rough. That's why I love this daily payout model because, and I'll get into that, but I went through a phase of kind of like I went either churning and burning accounts or just trying to margin everything, and you'd make some money, but then you'd blow it. And what I like now is that when you have daily payouts, I don't have to aim for $1 million in a day. I can aim for, and you'll probably see it if you look through all the payouts I got with Leveled Up, because I've been funded with you guys since January.
Yeah.
It's relatively small. It's maybe 1 or 2% a day. And that 1 or 2% still ends up to being the 10, 20% that people aim for. But you do it in small chunks. You take your money and you just kind of keep it moving. Because this way you kind of know for a fact that money is going to be in the bank. But if you have 10, 20K sitting in an account and you're still trading on top of it every day, that 20K can turn into zero really quickly.
So you're an advocate for smaller, consistent wins than winning big.
Yes. Because I've had my big wins on other prop firms, but I realized when I look at the overall P&L for the year, I might have 1, 2, 3 big payouts, but then I'm spending the rest of the year trying to get those payouts and trying to get funded. But then when I finally switched my approach and said, instead of trying to risk everything, risk smaller and make more consistent profits, this has been my most profitable year, 2025, in the whole 6 years that I've been trading, because I've been aiming for smaller profits, more realistic profits, and consistent versus big and inconsistent.
100%. I feel like a lot of people don't have that mentality because most of the times they kind of go on social media and they see somebody showing a 200K payout.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So, I feel like a lot of people will be more profitable. They just focus on, like, let's say, I don't know, my card note is $1,000. That's my payout for the week that I need to request.
Yeah.
More realistic and just wait for like the big count. But that's and now we're gonna get into more into the challenge aspect.
Okay.
Let's say that you like the 100K account. You think the 100K accounts are like the most.
Yeah, and there's a method to that too. So during the time of me kind of learning about funding companies, I've been with a few of them. I initially started with the 100K, and I realized I would be able to generate really good profits. And then when I started seeing everyone trading 200Ks, I'm like, I want a 200K too. And I spent a ton of money on 200K accounts. I passed a good amount of them, but I never was able to make a profit on it. And it started to tell me that you were doing something right before because you would generate a profit on the 100K account, but you couldn't withdraw it because you would get overzealous over time. And you switched to 200K and then you couldn't generate a profit on it at all. So it told me if I go back to the 100K account and then work on trying to go from generating a profit and losing it to generating a profit and keeping it, then I think I might have a formula there. It took a little bit of humbling myself because I spent a lot of money on challenges when I was doing 200Ks. As you know, they're like $1,000 a piece, and blowing them, have to recoup. And then I realized 100K is half the amount. You can still make really, really good profits. And something that I did notice, which is probably from a psychological perspective why it's better for me, I realized the numbers are easier to understand. So like obviously, if you have 5% and you're on a 100K account, 5% your drawdown, you just know 95K, you're good. Obviously, it's the same thing on a 200K, it's 10K. But when you're in the middle of trading throughout the day and you're going through your flow, yeah, I might have to do a little bit of extra math because I'm not used to seeing that 200K number going 196, 195 or something like that. And that kind of throws me off. But with the 100K, I can like have eyes closed. I know exactly what I'm doing.
You remember prices like it was zones and stuff. It's I'm already at this
Yeah,
point, I'm already at
yeah.
maximum. No,
And then
that's
once I did that, it made a huge like change.
I could definitely see that from like again we have like a lot of data from people and I don't understand it sometimes because we do have a consistency rule, we do have daily drawdown and stuff like that, and people that get to the 200K, they're able to perfectly master through that. And the moment they get funded, it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna risk it all and do one move and get it. I'm like, come on, dude. But anyway, we can't expect everybody to think a certain way. The pairs that you trade, gold, gold and US 30.
Yeah.
Have you always been married to those two markets, or you have been exploring around and those are the ones that have become more profitable to you?
So originally, when I started, the first pair out the gate was US 30.
Mhm.
But as you know, like starting out, that's kind of like your first car trying to drive a Ferrari. It's like it's a lot. But I knew I always had a love for that pair. I just knew I would have to come back to it later on when I kind of understood what I was doing. And so I kind of veered away from that and dabbled into some forex. And this is all really in the beginning. But very early in the beginning, I realized I didn't like forex. Like forex isn't for me for multiple reasons. It's not as fast as I need it to be. It's a lot, it consolidates a lot of times. And what I hated is that when it came to news, you had to think about what two countries were doing at the same time. I hated that. So I was like, how do we simplify this? I'm like, the stock market is relatively simple. I just got to focus on the US markets and I only have to really worry about what that pair is doing during US session. It just kind of limited some of the barriers that might be there on the forex side. So so I left US 30, dabbled into some currencies, and then I ultimately during COVID went to gold. I think at the time it was like really popular with a bunch of traders. I jumped on the wave, and I actually really, really loved gold. But what I realized was, and it took me maybe 2 or 3 years of data to realize this was, I can make really good money on gold, but I also can lose it as fast. And so I realized, put the ego aside, who cares what other people are trading? What are you good at? And I remembered when I first started, I was relatively good at understanding US 30. I just had some things that I had to tweak, obviously, because I was so new. So I was like, let me just go back to kind of what I did originally. And then that kind of took off again there. So a lot of those inconsistencies that I was having, it was because I was like over leveraging gold, and or if I wasn't over leveraging, it just wasn't the right pair at the right time for me to learn for. But then when I went back to US 30, and traded that consistently, that's been essentially my bread and butter. I've only been trading gold recently, again, maybe for a few weeks, just because the indices markets have been relatively choppy, but my heart and everything is in US 30 for the most part. Yeah. Like I win on US 30 really, really often. I understand that market really, really well. I was looking at some of the data. I mean, I'm probably well over 80, 90% win rate on US 30. Whereas like gold, it's nowhere near that. But I can still, catch some good moves on gold. But for the most part, I perfect US 30 really well.
I mean, you mentioned already that you find our payout structure very, 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 very user friendly. But besides that, anything else that you might also like about like our challenge model?
Yeah.
Anything that piqued your interest on our challenge model, and also how long did it take you to pass with all these, I guess, extra rules that we have compared to others?
Okay, so not to necessarily plug another prop, but I started last year on Funder Pro, and you guys have a very, very similar model. So when I first started, and I'm just going to compare it because it's essentially very similar. But when I first started with them, it took me a very long time to pass. I think my first challenge was probably like 6 weeks that it took me to pass it. I didn't blow it, but it took me 6 weeks overall to pass. And it's because you have to retrain your mind on the way that you think of trading. Like prior to that, I could pass challenges in a day, right? If you find that right move, or you just wait for that right move, you load up appropriately. You could take one move past phase one, and if they're one of the prop companies that send the phase two immediately, you could jump right back into the continuation of that move and pass it all in one shot. You can't do that with your prop model and or the other company that I was naming. And at first, that's a little frustrating, right? Because you're like, damn, I just want to get this thing over with. But what I love about it is, believe it or not, the 45% actually does teach you consistency. For two reasons. One, the quickest you could pass the challenge is in 6 days, right? If you're doing a two-phase model, 3 days on phase one, 3 days on phase two, you can't get lucky passing this challenge. Like, it's not possible. I've tried it. I've passed a few of them in 6 days. In fact, this one I've passed in 6 days, the minimum time required. But it takes a level of like laser focus, precision in the markets, and a little bit of luck. Like, you do need the markets to be flowing in the direction that you needed to, or you need to be able to capture, those moves, especially with all the new volatility around tariffs and so on and so forth. But again, as I repeat, you can't get lucky on this challenge. Now, there is a way to try to pass it as fast as possible, which I think a lot of people probably try to do, is just go for the 45% every day to pass it. And you can do that. But what I found, I actually wrote up a little bit of a system on how I like to go about it is, yes, I do obviously aim for my 45% each day, but instead of making that my hard target, what I do is I actually try to take each phase and take the total target and divide it by 3. Because if you can't pass that challenge before 3 days anyway, there's no reason to try to risk the house to make 4.5% each day and then make 1% on day 3, when you could just take the entire thing and divide it by 3. So essentially, I'm aiming for 3.3% each day. So if I do make it above 3.3%, trying to get to that 4.5, which really equals the 45%. If the market pulls back on me, I'm trying to at least book the 33% or the 3.3%, and then just maybe worry about it again tomorrow, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you just answered 95% of the people's questions right now. How to
Yeah.
effectively pass. Because there's, you could do it in 3 days because it's 44%. After that, it's 90%, and you only have the 10% left, which, again, it's a lot of risk. It's a lot of, but it's a great way to put it for people that might not understand it. And of course, this helps you as well once you go into the funded stage. Don't go chasing those big wins like at once and try to
Well, yeah, because you took all that time. So that's the other thing. I would rather spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, whatever it takes to pass this sort of model, because then I know on the other side of the table is I can get my money every single day. All right. Like, as soon as if I close my trade at 10 o'clock, I wait for the dashboard to refresh, and at 10:01, 10:02, I can request it. And within 24 hours, I get my money. Like, there is really not that many other companies out there that's doing that. A lot of them claim to do that, and there's so many fine print, like BS rules that they do, specifically not to pay you out. And I'm always leery with prop firms. Even like when I started here, I was a little bit nervous just because you hear all the BS that goes on. But I have to say, and I wrote this in my Trust Pilot interview, you guys have been nothing but like amazing. You guys have been extremely professional. Any issues that I've had, the customer service have taken care of me. Like, every single thing that you guys actually claim in your like marketing or what have you has been 100% accurate. And you don't see that really often with prop firms, especially the ones based out of Miami. So I want to give you guys your props on that, because everything that you've been saying has been 100% accurate.
I mean, that's our number one goal. So is being client satisfaction.
Yeah.
And that's something that we take very, very to heart, because if you really just don't listen to the names, and every single company is offering the same, it just gets to the point of how well you treat your customers. So for us, it's like, if we put something on paper, we have to abide by it.
Yeah. No, you guys, I can tell that is something that you take really serious. It shows for sure.
No, and it's great, to hear. And going into the actual payout itself, you mentioned, I mean, just so people know, this is your 14th payout with Leveled Up Traders.
Damn, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's your 14th payout. You so far have requested $12,835 with 32 cents.
That's awesome.
That's very, very, very good. That's very, very good money. And one of them, first things first, I mean, you share your experience with other prop firms. not to concentrate on the bad of the other, but more concentrate the good in us. How has the payout experience been? From the moment you close your trade and you're in profit on your funded account to the moment you receive the payout.
Okay. So I would say the top two firms that I trade with right now is you and Thunder. I think you both are, and it's no mystery that your models are similar, but you both really do what you preach and say in your marketing. So it's no frills with the challenge. It's very straightforward once you understand the actual rules. And then once you're trading live, you make your money, you hit request, and within a few hours to a day, you're paid. I've been with many other prop firms, and the day that you're there to request your money, because I think everyone else had to wait at least a week or 2 weeks, or whatever. You wait and you're praying. I mean, you hit request and you're praying. You're like, I hope they're gonna pay me. I hope they don't come up with some BS or some magical rule that I violated or something like that. And then let's just say they don't do that. Do they actually have the capital to pay? And I've had some big payouts with some other firms, and it's, I would request it, let's say on a Friday, and 2-3 weeks have gone by, and I'm like, where the hell's my payout? Now, luckily, I've been blessed that every payout that I've ever requested from every company was approved. But not all the time are you going to get that consistent payout. So like, for example, with you and Funder, the two companies I use, if I press request, I go to sleep or I go the rest of my day because I know that money's coming, right? Like with other companies, you don't know if it's coming. And so that adds another level of stress on trading, because you're like, should I aim less? Should I target less? I don't want to make too much, and then I bankrupt the company. I don't want to make too much, and then they find a reason not to pay me. Like, what is it? And so, so I would say so far with you and the other company I mentioned, it hasn't been an issue, but prior to with other companies, it could be delay after delay after delay. So,
I saw me once ago, it's like when you get an email from your prop firm, you don't know if it's approved or denied.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
You want to check. You see the phone from far, and you're like,
that's like, I'm like, does it say A or does it say D? Like, denied or approved? So yeah, I never have to worry about anything with you guys. Actually, and I'll be just transparent. My first account with you guys, I actually did get a payout denied, my third one, but it was to my own wrongdoing. I didn't realize, I didn't have the weekend add-on, and your rules are a little bit different when it comes to weekend trading. So like with virtually every other prop, they consider Monday, Sunday, 6 p.m., which is obviously Asian time. On your prop, you guys consider that still the weekend. So if you don't have the add-on, then you ultimately breach the account. I never even looked in that area because I don't normally trade on the weekends. And if I do, it's not crypto. It's usually after 6, which is considered Monday. So I never even looked in that section. And when I got the payout denied, at first I was like, here we go. But then when I looked in the FAQs and seeing what it was, I was like, yeah, it's my fault. I'll take it. But just to prove my skills, I was like, instead of me taking this as defeat and bashing the firm or something like that, I bought another account, passed that one in 6 days, and then, as you can see, the lion's share of all of those payouts came from that account after it got breached. So it is a testament to let people know, like, sometimes it's not the prop firm. I mean, the rules are the rules, right? Whether you agree with them or not, that's what you agree to when you sign up. And even though I didn't see it, it's not my fault. It's not your fault that I didn't see it. But instead of taking it as defeat and saying, the world's ending or F this prop firm, I was like, I'm gonna show them that I really do know how to trade. And so I came back, and like I said, like lion's share of the withdrawals you see came from account after that situation had happened. So